To give up, you have to be dead, or completely incapacitated.
Good morning, darling, love, sweetheart. I'm home. What is better than agenda? Agenda. Bank IT, ccna, DevOps, acronyms, Git? Maybe. Trader? Maybe. Scripting? Nah. Maybe. Maybe. So let's go. Bank IT. 3 groups. Users, cloud and enterprise. Or public network, cloud provider and enterprise network. Public and cloud via edge services. Enterprise and cloud via transformation and connectivity. Services? Maybe. So what in the cloud of banking IT? Analytical insight, digital agility services, some more analytical insights, business automation, secured and compliant cloud infrastructure. So analytics in the cloud is data virtualization, knowledge catalog, Watson Studio. Who? IMB Watson Studio. The IBM Watson Studio platform helps a business build and scale trusted AI on any cloud. Watson Studio is one of the core services of IBM Cloud Park for Data, a multi-cloud data and AI platform. Together with IBM Watson Machine Learning and IBM Watson OpenScale, Watson Studio provides tools for data scientists, application developers and subject matter experts to collaborate and easily work with data to build, run and manage models at scale. Okay. Whatevs. So sweetheart, darling, love. CCNA. Previously on Ready Not to Die. IP addressing basics. TCP IP addressing. Loopback address. And now. Private addresses. So. Another type of addresses you need to be aware of are private addresses. A private address can be assigned to a system, but cannot be used for any kind of internet connectivity. Private addresses are non-routable on the internet, so any system using them will not be able to route data across the internet. There are 3 ranges of private addresses. First is 10. Whatevs. Second is 172.16 to 172.31. Whatevs. Third is 192.168 to 192.168. Whatevs. So due to the growth of Internet, it became impossible for every device that needed internet access to use a public IP address as we were running out of addresses. So private addresses are used inside networks, because they are not seen by other systems on the internet. We use a network address translation, NAT, device to translate the private address to a public address. Always remember that one of the major design considerations with networks today is to use private addresses internally and use a NAT device to translate the private address, which is non-routable on the internet, to a public address that is routable on the internet. This essentially enables a large number of computers running private addresses to share the public address of the NAT device to gain internet access. So darling, what is API? API stands for Application Programming Interface, which is a set of definitions and protocols for building and integrating application software. But darling, love, how do API work? API lets your product or service communicate with other products and services without having to know how they are implemented. This can simplify app development, saving time and money, darling, love. When you are designing new tools and products, or managing existing ones, API give you flexibility, simplify design, administration, and use, and provide opportunities for innovation. API are sometimes thought of as contracts, with documentation that represents an agreement between parties. If Party 1 sends a remote request structured a particular way, this is how Party 2 software will respond. Because API simplify how developers integrate new application components into an existing architecture, they help business and IT teams collaborate. Business needs often change quickly in response to ever-shifting digital markets, where new competitors can change a whole industry with a new app. In order to stay competitive, it is important to support the rapid development and deployment of innovative services. Cloud-native applications development is an identifiable way to increase development speed, and it relies on connecting a microservices application architecture through API. API are a simplified way to connect your own infrastructure through cloud-native app development, but they also allow you to share your data with customers and other external users. Public API represent unique business value because they can simplify and expand how you connect with your partners, as well as potentially monetize your data. The Google Maps API is a popular example. Day what? Day 8. DSU, Data Service Unit. DTLS, Datagram Transport Layer Security. DWDM, Dense Wavelength Division Multiplexing. E1, E-Carrier Level 1. EAP, Extensible Authentication Protocol. EBCDIC, Extended Binary Coded Decimal Interchange Code. eDNS, Extension Mechanisms for DNS. EGP, Exterior Gateway Protocol. EMI, Electromagnetic Interference. ESD, Electrostatic Discharge. No darling, sweetheart, love. Now it is time to talk about another type, which is designed to represent and store the numbers that, as a mathematician would say, have non-empty decimal fraction. They are the numbers that have, or may have, a fractional part after the decimal point, and although such a definition is very poor, it is certainly sufficient for what we wish to discuss. Whenever we use a term like 2.5 or minus 0.4, we think of numbers which the computer considers floating point numbers. 2.5 or minus 0.4. Note: 2.5 looks normal when you write it in a program, although if your native language prefers to use a comma instead of a point in the number, you should ensure that your number does not contain any commas at all. Python will not accept that, or, in very rare but possible cases, may misunderstand your intentions, as the comma itself has its own reserved meaning in Python. If you want to use just a value of 2.5, you should write it as shown above, 2.5. Note once again, there is a dot between 2 and 5, not a comma. So darling, love, as you can probably imagine, the value of 0.4 or 0.4 could be written in Python as 0.4. But do not forget this simple rule: you can omit 0 when it is the only digit in front of or after the decimal point. In essence, you can write the value 0.4 as just .4. For example, the value of 4.0, meaning 4, could be written as 4. And that is it. This will change neither its type nor its value. So darling, love, welcome to the ultimate guide course of ASP.NET Core. So, darling, what is ASP.NET Core? So love, ASP.NET Core is a cross-platform, high-performance, open-source framework for building modern, cloud-enabled web applications and services. Sweetheart, love. Using ASP.NET Core you can create web applications and services, meaning you can create web applications of any scale. Small, medium, large, extra large, amazingly large, but very tiny also. Maybe. You can create REST API services which can act as a backend for web applications and mobile applications. So darling, it is cross-platform. After you develop your application you are required to host it, meaning you are required to install it on your server machine. Then it will start receiving requests from the clients and may just start providing those responses in return. Anyway love, what kind of operating system required on the server? ASP.NET Core supports 3 most popular operating systems: Windows, Linux and Mac OS. In most cases, Sun. We use Windows or Mac ON for developers, meaning on the developer machine, and Linux on the server machine. Also on the server machine there should be a software that can receive requests and can provide the response, which is also called reverse proxy. ASP.NET Core supports Castrol by default as application server and IIS, Nginx, Docker, Apache as reverse proxies, where the Docker itself supports various operating systems. You can run Windows or Linux on the Docker. ASP.NET Core application can run on any of these servers. Also darling, it is open source. Meaning, the source code of ASP.NET Core is available on GitHub for free, so that the benefit is that you will get updates of ASP.NET Core frequently. ASP.NET Core is developed with cloud in mind. Darling, .NET Core supports Microsoft Azure Cloud out of the box. Darling, sweetheart, there are 4 parts of ASP.NET Core. ASP.NET Core MVC. For creating medium to complex web applications. ASP.NET Core Web API. For creating RESTful services for all types of client applications. ASP.NET Core Razor Pages. for creating simple and page-focused web applications, and ASP.NET Core Blazor, for creating web applications with C# code both on client-side and server-side. Note, darling, whenever you are going to use model view and controller pattern in ASP.NET Core, it is called as ASP.NET Core MVC. And in case if you create only controller with models but no views, it is said to be ASP.NET Core Web API. Darling, in general, love, ASP.NET Core Web API is used to create RESTful services so that it can receive the request and provide the data as response. However, darling, only the data but not the views, so that the front end can be created using any of the web application or mobile application frameworks. You can create front end using React or Angular or mobile application frameworks such as Xamarin or Ionic. For all these front ends, Web API can act as back end. In addition to that, for simple and page-focused scenarios, Razor pages are available. Also, if development team would like to use C# language, both on the server side as well as client side, then you will prefer using ASP.NET Core Blazor. Out of all their 4 flavors, the first 2 are most used in the real-world project development. Now darling, trader sum, money markets, types of money market instruments, commercial paper. Darling, commercial paper market is for buying and selling unsecured loans for corporations in need of a short-term cash infusion. Only highly creditworthy companies participate, so the risks are low. Commercial paper is an unsecured, short-term debt instrument issued by corporations. It is typically used to finance short-term liabilities such as payroll, accounts payable, and inventories. Darling, commercial paper involves a specific amount of money that is to be repaid by a specific date. Minimum denominations are $100,000. Or euros? Maybe, love. Terms to maturity extend from 1 to 270 days. Petty average about 30 days. Commercial paper is usually issued at a discount from face value. It reflects prevailing market interest rates. Now darling, trader sum, money markets, types of money market instruments, commercial paper. Darling, commercial paper market is for buying and selling unsecured loans for corporations in need of a short-term cash infusion. Only highly creditworthy companies participate, so the risks are low. Commercial paper is an unsecured, short-term debt instrument issued by corporations. It is typically used to finance short-term liabilities such as payroll, accounts payable, and inventories. Darling, commercial paper involves a specific amount of money that is to be repaid by a specific date. Minimum denominations are $100,000. Or euros? Maybe, love. Terms to maturity extend from 1 to 270 days. Petty average about 30 days. Commercial paper is usually issued at a discount from face value. It reflects prevailing market interest rates. Boom boom boom. That is enough for a dumb son like my son for today anyway. Bye bye / keep learning.